now. So today what we're going to talk about is our images in social media, and pictures do speak 1,000 words. We really should use a lot of images when we go and do postings on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, whatever we do. It draws people in. Hold on here. Yeah, let's go the other way. So let's go over the cause and the mission again. To increase awareness of Archibus throughout the world, our mission is to collaborate our efforts to increase the traffic to our individual websites and the Archibus website for the purposes of increasing sales. Pictures do speak 1,000 words. This is an image that I use, a set of images, to kind of get to know Bob whenever I'm in a new lecture situation. A husband of 30 years, I have a father of 3, a CEO, I lectured for 25 years, and I published 3 books, and I am very proud to be a rugby coach. And these images are very quick to be able to, indicate who I am and kind of get an image of my wife and family and things I've done. But pictures tell stories, right? So there's a picture of my rugby team, and I'm working on my health. I'm in the IWMS industry. I do check with, my competitors, and I'm very big on company culture. And pictures, they just draw you in and they create interest. You can kind of get a good feel for things by just taking a look at pictures. The next couple slides, I want you to kind of consider what your emotions are as you see these pictures. All right, questions on those pictures. What kind of emotions did they evoke? Were they good pictures, bad pictures? Did you have emotion at all? Love to hear from everyone, anyone.
Weren't good or bad, but they certainly evoked a lot of emotion.
Right? Anyone else?
Well, they seem to evoke a sense of solidarity and teamwork in some of them.
Yeah.
So there was a sense of teamwork, as a sense of collaboration.
Yep. Anyone else? All right. What I'm trying to point out here is that pictures actually draw people into your posting. And even if it's just a single picture with a hyperlink to your web page, it's probably the best thing that you can do is actually provide images. I'll have another session about videos, but let's just stay with images. So, where can I get pictures, right? Well, at Google that are labeled for reuse, you can use those without any repercussion at all. You can also use Canva. Has anybody on the phone? Has anybody on the phone ever used Canva before?
I have.
Would you take a minute and kind of explain to the audience what Canva is about and how it works?
Sure. So I've actually used it for some marketing material. They have like pre-made templates and images that you can put together very quickly and nicely, and it gives you a way to create a visual marketing document that can be easily shared, and also it's relatively inexpensive as well.
Yeah, I love Canva for that, especially for the infographics and providing images for any of your websites. Anyone else use Canva? Okay. And then you can also purchase them from libraries like Big Stock, iStock, Getty Library. These look very, very professional, and you can license them to yourself so that you're rest assured that nobody else uses those images. There's an article, there's the HTTPS article there where we rock your web. I also have it on the hyperlink at the beginning of this session. And they rank the purchase sites and give you insight into the pros and cons of each of those, where you can purchase them. Sizing of the image matters. It matters a lot, actually. How fast these images generate will depend on how you keep your audience. So this little slide is from Blue Corona, and they talk about the accessibility of your website should have three things a part of it, and that is it should be very fast. It should be a very speedy site. And so sizing your images is very important for the site to be fast. It needs to be mobile friendly, or what we call responsive, which means it formats to any type of device. And site security, it should have an HTTPS so that your audience or your people you're driving your website know that you've secured your site down. So here's some recommendations from coschedule.com on a blog site, and that hyperlink is also available on the front page of this lesson 4. So the recommended sizes for Instagram, basically they're saying it's 2080 pixels wide. I think that's a bit wide for me, but if you want your image to be good, you can do that on Instagram to be large. Now Instagram is all about photos, so that's why they want the large images. You're going to see them smaller on the other social media sites. So LinkedIn, for example, wants you to be 531 pixels wide. They feel that's most optimum. Twitter, 506. So you see we're getting a little bit smaller here. So they'd like the images to be smaller. And again, it's probably for generation. And Facebook is looking for 1200, and so it's the largest one of all 4 I'm showing you. And so that's a good sized image. I'm now going to go into a Google search. So let me come over here to Google, and let's say that, okay, I don't want to go to maps, come on. Let's say that I want to find an image on budgeting. So I type in budgeting in my search, and then I usually come over here to the images. And on the image side, we see a whole bunch of images that look really interesting, and I'd love to use these on my website, but you need to beware. You need to understand that you just can't take these images and put them on your website. You could get fines or dings by taking these images and using them. Has anybody ever had a fee involved with using an image from Google? I certainly have. I've had to pay Getty for an image that I used 10 years ago, and they got into licensing issues. So became very, very, very well aware of this. But if you come over here to the tools side on the first menu, which is right here, you'll see that a second menu will pop out. And then there's what's called user rights. And when you hit the user rights, what I do then is filter to labeled for reuse. And these images that are labeled for reuse, you may use them without repercussion. You can reuse these images. So let's say that I like this image here. What I usually do then is I come in here and I pull it up, take a look at it. Now notice that the size is 1200 by 800. That's a good one for some images. I literally just come over here and do a right click and do Save Image As. And as I do the Save Image As, I usually default it to my Pictures folder. That's where I like to put all my images. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and it's now called Budgeting Basics JPEG, and I'm going to save it here. And then you can go and do other topics and find other images. So for example, let's say that you want to talk about, let's say we want to go moves. So we can come in here and find image rights that are labeled for reuse for moves. And none of these really look like anything that I want, but I kind of scroll it and make sure that I find what I'm looking for moves. And maybe in our industry, I may want to change this search to boxes, right? Let's go take a look at some boxes. So you can come in here and pull up things like this image here, which is available for reuse. And this is like moving day, right? So again, you can come in here and do a right click and see this is 960 by 640. You can do save image as. And I don't like that it's called download, so I'm going to call it moves. And I'm going to go ahead and save it down there. All right, well, now that I've got my images, what I highly recommend is an application called Paint.net. And Paint.net is a free Photoshop type application. Is anybody familiar with Paint.net? How many of you use Photoshop?
I've done it.
You use Photoshop? Yeah.
Yep.
If you got Photoshop, it'll do basically the same thing that Paint.net does. But Paint.net is a watered-down Photoshop. It doesn't do everything Photoshop does, but it will allow you to do lots of things. But anyway, so Paint.net's installed, and I can come in here and go to my pictures folder, and I can take a look at those images that I've just downloaded. I can come in here and go, let's find budgeting. And there it is. There's my image right there. And I can bring it in, and there it is. And good. Now remember that when we brought this down, this was a 1200 pixel image across its width. If I come over here to image, I can do what's called a resize. And the resize here, let's say I want to go to 600. I want to make it half that size. Notice that the size went down under a meg. It went to 937.5 KB. And that will allow us to generate it quicker. And I'm going to say OK to this, and it resizes my image. I can then go ahead and save the image, and I will now have a smaller image that I can use and bring into my social media. Lots of other things. I can add layers here, and I can take colors. I can change colors and do whatever I'd like on this image. So image management are the things that I use are, again, Paint.net, Google, and some iStock or Getty Images are really, really good to pick up for social media. So what does all this mean? Well, when we get into social media, like if we go into, let's go to my Twitter account. So if I go into my Twitter account, you'll notice that almost every one of these posts have an image, and they evoke emotion. Some of them are videos like this one here, but they evoke emotion, and you can take a look at these images, and some of them become, interesting for you to go in and look at. So the images are important for us to really create and attract individuals in here. So let's say that I wanted to tweet. I can come in here, I tweet, I can pick this image up, and the image that I had literally just created, this budgeting one, I can come up in here and there's that image, and I could write something and away I go. I'm not going to do that, but that's the way the way we would use images in social media. So that is the presentation. Are there questions about images and their discussion about its use?
Bob?
Yes. Hi, Fred.
Yeah, I don't have a question, but I was just going to say that was actually very helpful hints, especially on the getting the ones that are freely available without any copyright issues. That was a really helpful hint.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing.
You bet. You can find some really nice photos. A lot of the photos that I use are free. So thanks, Fred. Any other thoughts?
I like that
Anyone?
paint
Oh, sorry.
software. I'm installing it right now.
Yeah, the paint.net. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to do that too. Actually, I've the other ones are probably too complex for my taste, but something easy that's a little bit more full feature than just the desktop paint is really helpful.
Yeah, I've been using paint.net for almost 8 years now. It's really come a long way, and it is very useful. I love Photoshop, but I'm not a professional photographer. And so it's like using AutoCAD or Revit. We only use a small portion of AutoCAD, but you need to know it. And Photoshop is that way. It's very, very deep, very, very wide. But paint.net is, I can add layers, I can filter, I can rotate, resize, canvas size, and everything. Yeah. Burke, did we cut you off? Did you want to say something?
No, that was me. That was CJ. I was just going to suggest that if someone's looking for a low-cost kind of Photoshoppy thing, I've been using GIMP for the last, 5 or 6 years, and it's a free tool that does all the same functionality.
Oh, that's awesome. Let's take a look at that real quick. GIMP.
Yep, that's it. And I think the latest version might be like 2.1 or something like that.
Great. Let's take a look here.
Yep, that's it. That is it. You can download it for free, and it works just as well.
So very perfect. I mean, this is exactly why I wanted to have these social media training sessions. Is that there's a lot of information that all of us can pass to one another. So yeah, we've got options, right? And
Totally.
I
use Paint primarily just to resize images. That's pretty much all I use Paint for. It does work well though.
Well, I would use it to touch up images. You said what do you?
No, just to resize.
Yeah,
I
resize.
Yeah, it's real easy to. It's great for that.
Yeah, very, very good. Okay, any other conversations around the imaging and social media? All right, so I have a question. I'm staying on one topic for these because I don't want these sessions to go much longer than a half an hour. Was this too light or too heavy or just right?
I think this was good.
Okay.
Yeah. For me too. Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, and so I'll have other topics like video. I'm going to get into content and other things like that. So just stay tuned. We'll have some more of these sessions. So if there's not any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and end the session. And I really appreciate your time. Sorry for the technical difficulties at the beginning. I'm not in my office. I'm somewhere else, and connecting to the internet got to be a difficulty. So I appreciate it. Any other questions before we go? All right, guys. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too.
Take care.
Thanks, Bob.
You bet. Bye-bye.